Welcome freaking back to the last relic. Hopefully I fixed all my freaking issues. I deleted pretty much all the pictures off my computer so it doesn't lag. But welcome. So let me get the picture up here. What's up, guys? So I want to start off the stream. Something I've noticed between Gunn and Snyder fans. Both of them are super loyal to their Lord and Savior, Gunn or Zack Snyder, right? I've noticed that there can't be any freaking criticism. If you're a Snyder fan, everything's a masterpiece. All his movies are good ever since Sliced Bread. Same with James Gunn fans. I'm neither or. I'm a fan of good movies. I'm a fan of good superheroes. I'm a fan of Superman. And to the point where, I think it's a huge problem when we can't be critical of people we're fans of. I used to be a huge James Gunn fan when he did Guardians of the Galaxy. It's when I really started, liking the dude. I'm like, oh, shoot, this is, some pretty good movies. And fun fact, the one that he has the most creative, less creative restrictions, he had full range, was the third one. And out of all three of them, it was the worst one out of the three. And then he got to the Suicide Squad, and then he did really good with characters, but the story wasn't there. And then we saw his progression, right? Now, when it came with Zack Snyder, his first DC project was phenomenal, The Watchmen, It was super well done. It was very mature. It was from a very obscure comic, though The Watchmen is not really ever made for kids. But, it did what it had to do. Give me one freaking second. What the hell? So as I was saying, and I'm gonna point this out too. Obviously, Zack Snyder's DCU wasn't good. It really wasn't good. His plans that we've read, that what he was gonna do, after the Snyder Cut Justice League movie, it was gonna be freaking bad, man. But here's the thing. Oh my freaking goodness. Here's the thing. He was the best man for the job. If you take all the comic book stuff he's done, just take two. Actually, don't worry about Sucker Punch, but think about 300 and Watchmen. And at least he did his first DC project ever, a one-off, and it was really, really good. Right? So if you're Warner Brothers and you see this guy, you're like, yeah, this guy, and he hired the right cast. I would say, other than Wonder Woman, he had a solid choices, Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill. And unfortunately, we got what we got, right? I get the diehard Snyder fans, and here's what I'll give to Zack Snyder. He really cares about telling a story through just the look of the character. He does. It's something that superheroes is kind of missing during phase 4 of the MCU, but he still kept it going. Now I know that the Snyder Cut came out right at the end of phase 4, whatever, but what I mean to say is he took it seriously. I think he should have kept the trunks on. I think Ben Affleck's Batsuit, even though I don't like it at all, it is the most comic book accurate. And the Superman suit, I would be okay with it if he just had the trunks and the yellow symbol on the back. That would have been awesome. And if it wasn't like the freaking dark colors, right? So anyways, the Snyder fans, the Gunn fans, I've noticed that like they really stick to their guns, which is a like all power to them. But there's so much copium. Like I was going back and forth with this dude in one of my videos on the comments, and you know, I got accused of switching the goalpost and whatnot and whatever. I'm like, every time you change the rules, I stick to your rules. But he's actually the one changing the goalpost. But it's fine. Like, I'm having fun with it. Like, it's interesting to hear his perspective. But it's just, like, all right. Like, but you're really going to tell me all of this just absolutely makes sense because the script wrote it? Because the movie wants you to think this way, not because it actually gives you something to think that way. You know, like, look at the beginning, the Star Wars crawl of the James Gunn Superman film. Only, like, 2 pieces of information from that was necessary. The rest could have either been told or had no effect in the movie after knowing that info. Like, not at one point is there a reference or somebody, or we see a cause and effect from knowing that there's metahumans for 300 years on Earth. Not a singular point. Not like some archaeologists, not the government, not nothing. So what was the point of that information? Like, you could say, oh, that's to set up other movies, but that's not how it should be, man. Like that's, if you're gonna establish lore and that like there's been 300 years of metahumans, maybe you have some sort of scene with the government, you know, trapping like Martian Manhunter. Like Martian Manhunter has been locked with the government for a certain amount of years, but he has been visiting Earth. There was like this thing with the Egyptians. They study whatever. There's like a bunch of stuff that you could do other than just giving me info and not doing anything with it. So, huge waste of time. I'm not here to break down the Superman movie, but I think a big point of why we're talking about lanterns, why we're talking about Paramount, and if James Gunn is going to have a job or not, is because the movie didn't do well. It wasn't a hit. It wasn't a success. That's just obviously clear. It's objectively clear. All right? Like, it wasn't the hit it's supposed to be. This is the Superman film. All right? Like, James Gunn Superman combined with Man of Steel Superman, both of them didn't make as much as Christopher Reeve Superman. And remember, that all Superman movies after Christopher Reeve are going off the coattails of the Christopher Reeve Superman. So they already have a push. They like the normies already know who Superman is. And then you got real fans of Superman who want to see Superman. And so then if it's a good movie, you're going to make $2 billion. No freaking problem. Just having Superman on screen if it's a freaking good movie. Now, again, a lot of people are like, they can't separate the art from the artist. They can't, which is has its place. But what happens when the freaking artist just doesn't shut up, which James Gunn unfortunately just keeps running his mouth. And like, for instance, if the Lanterns trailer came out and we heard nothing from James Gunn, we heard nothing from the showrunners and all that, I think it still would have gotten the backlash that it currently has, but in a more positive note, meaning like, look, this doesn't look anything like I was expecting. I don't like it, but, you know, I'm willing to give it a shot. I want to see what they actually are going to do. What is the lore change here? Does it make sense? Is it better lore than what we're getting in the comics? Because I'm not the biggest Green Lantern fan, but like I said, I dabble. Green Lantern for me is like, you could see its progression of change. You know, in the comics, there was a few comics, especially early iterations, where Hal Jordan did hang up his suit. Like, it was a suit that you took off, right? You know, which is, to be fair, that's fine, but we already had a progression that was much better, and it just comes from the ring. Explains the glow a little bit. Like, you have 1,000 Green Lanterns throughout the cosmos, and all of them got to make their own suit. That's kind of crazy. There's not a set standard where your personality is kind of implemented, But whatever. We got a lot of lore change. If we didn't hear stuff from James Gunn, and let's say Superman is a success, we didn't hear anything from James Gunn, we didn't hear anything from the director, we wouldn't be talking the way we're talking about. It would be like, look, we were skeptical about James Gunn's Superman, but it turned out to be a freaking masterpiece. So we're like, everybody's gonna be on the positive side of the freaking Lanterns trailer, even if it is this trash, right? And I'm so sick of people saying like, oh, I am tired of people hating on things before they come out. Like that. First of all, that's comic book fans in a nutshell. Second of all, we're supposed to like call it like it is. Like, let's say the Lantern Show is a freaking banger. It's phenomenal. It doesn't make that trailer that we got any better. That trailer is still garbage. It still is. So if it's freaking awesome, great. It doesn't change the fact what that trailer is. It's kind of like if this show is worse than Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern, one garbage thing doesn't make another garbage thing better. It just makes it more, it just makes it better in comparison. But just it's still the same piece of garbage that we got before. So yeah, like, it's valid criticism when we don't stop hearing the director make jokes and saying green is stupid. When we don't stop hearing James Gunn, not only hating on, like, he had a perfect opportunity to unite the Snyder fans, to do press conferences, but what did they do? Just fire Henry Cavill on his birthday. They brought him back just to be like, no, we're not doing anything with him, and then hate on Snyder fans, like the James Gunn monkey thing, like. I forgot who it was, his brother or something. Somebody said that's like, oh yeah, that's pretty much a certain fandom of the DCU, which will not be named, but that's how he sees the Snyder fans. I'm like, don't you want the most money for your films? Don't you want everybody that's a DC comic fan, that's a fan of these characters, regardless if they love the Snyderverse, come in and be like, all right, this is the new DCU? And now we got Zack Snyder. He's a pro at freaking marketing, man. He is getting people excited, and nothing is set. People are talking about the Snyderverse again, and it's just like a lot of people who were fans of James Gunn are like gravitating towards the Snyderverse because like, hey, at least like it wasn't this goofy, bubbly nonsense, and like the colors, like they were there. Like freaking, the biggest thing that's been going around right now in terms of Green Lantern was a bunch of people making videos that Zack Snyder filmed the Green Lantern's deleted scenes for the Justice League in his backyard, in his garage, and he did a better job than this entire trailer. Like, one picture did a better job than a trailer that's supposed to promote a show. That's kind of freaking ridiculous, man. Even if we got like a really garbage Jon Stewart from Zack Snyder, which is a massive possibility, dude, we still got a lot of crap. We still got like a lot of crap from James Gunn and a good Green Lantern from Zack Snyder, even if it's just a picture. Like, it's very true to, and again, in his Justice League movie, you get to see a Green Lantern with the green glow and the green symbol protruding out and the ring being used and flying away. Like, it was actually a really cool scene. Very simple. Obviously, the rest of the movie freaking sucks super hard. Doesn't make sense. I was so sick of hearing that freaking Viking whatever Valkyrie music throughout the entire film. Like, if anything, I would say is as equal to Joss Whedon's freaking Justice League. Both freaking abysmal, man. Now, if you're like then again, the problem is I've been a huge DC fan all my life, and I understand DC fandom, all right? We're way more passionate than Marvel fans. Marvel fans are wishy-washy. DC fans, we're like real. We're not all these freaking retarded, like sensitive freaking gay boys. Like we're real, you know. And then we did get some of that. We got some Marvel fans coming over. You feel me? But nonetheless, right now I'd say DC fans are divided because they're trying to pick James Gunn or Zack Snyder. By the way, neither of them a good choice. Neither is a good choice. Maybe if they came together. But then again, I don't want a revisit of the Snyderverse, and I don't want James Gunn's universe to continue. We're getting Supergirl, and it looks straight out of Guardians of the Galaxy. I watched somebody's live stream, and they're like, "You're complaining that it looks too much like Guardians." Like, if they did Green Lantern in space, that's your exact complaint. It's like, no, we didn't say Superman looked straight up like Guardians of the Galaxy. We're saying Supergirl looks like it because it does look like it. All the spaceships, that space bus thing, the bar, the freaking uniforms, the actors, even the makeup. You know, the tone, the background music, that is Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, if you just put the Guardians of the Galaxy cast in that entire trailer of Supergirl and take her out, you're like, oh, this is Guardians of the Galaxy 4. Boom. You know? And also, even if you're a huge Superman fan, not Zack Snyder, James Gunn Superman fan, what the freak, he didn't direct it, cry more, man. Derpy. Like, if you're a huge James Gunn Superman fan, like, it was super disrespectful CGIing piss on Superman's face at the beginning of your Supergirl trailer. You know what I mean? And again, we talked about this, Derpy. It doesn't mean just because he didn't direct something doesn't mean he had his hand in it. It's just saying that he didn't direct it, but he produced it. You're saying he didn't give notes? Come on, brother. Kevin Feige, he has executive production on the Spider-Man 2, one of my favorite films, so he had a part to play. But when you're the head of the entire thing, yeah, it's up to you, the final say. And again, obviously, it's his soundtrack on the Supergirl trailer. Like, I'll give this to James Gunn. He has amazing taste in music, but that should have stuck with Supergirl or Guardians of the Galaxy. Supergirl, I think, should have got her own soundtrack. I think, regardless of if you like or dislike the Superman film, James Gunn Superman film, it should have got its own soundtrack for you to feel. For that music, when it comes on, that's how you feel that movie. Like, you remember that movie. Unfortunately, he repurposed a lot of the what's the John Williams soundtrack from Christopher Reeve, and a lot of times it was kind of misplaced. So I don't know. It, like, the soundtrack is gonna come on, and I'm gonna think Christopher Reeve. Like, music plays a part, everything plays a part. The style of the movie, the uniform, you know. Like, for instance, if you take the same James Gunn's uniform, place it on Henry Cavill, and do the same Man of Steel movie, it's completely out of place because of the tone and the way he directed. Is it good? Freak no. Man of Steel sucks. But look at it this way. Christopher Reeve's Jor-El. It was don't mess with, like, the humans, right? Like, don't affect the way the humans are supposed to live. And then, what was it in Man of Steel? Like show them wonders. And then you get James Gunn's Jor-El that's like, yo, rape them, dude. Make a harem, get rid of those who don't believe in your reign, and become a tyrant. Pretty much putting the Conan the Barbarian speech of what is best in life, which is, what does he say? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of their women. That's James Gunn's Superman. At least that's what Jor-El wants in James Gunn's Superman. Kind of a nutty thing to do. Okay? Now, James Gunn should be doing his best to uniting the fans of the Snyderverse, because regardless, they're very loud. And you want everybody together in your universe. You want them to like your stuff. Zack Snyder, again, he's doing a lot of marketing, and the only reason he is in talks is not because the Paramount sale, is none of that stuff. It's because of his movies were not successful. Like, Peacemaker just won an award over Invincible. Over Invincible. And it's one of the lowest rated. They lost over 50% of their viewer base from season 1. If you go and look at the numbers, that's kind of freaking insane. You know what I mean? And so, obviously these awards are bought. He and his wife, you know, maybe in the Lantern show, she gets boned by Hal Jordan because he likes to write his wife getting boned by every character, apparently. And she said that he's filming Man of Tomorrow. I'm like, okay, cool. I think if you disregard that movie, he has a really good chance. It's kind of like if you look at the MCU, this isn't the best example, but because of the recast of the Hulk, you could still add it, but you don't really have to watch it to get an intro of the Hulk in the Avengers movie. You can start with the Avengers movie as that Hulk movie and go from there. I think it's great to have both. I think that Hulk movie, the Incredible Hulk movie, is a really good time. It's objectively not written, but it's one of my favorite MCU movies. Subjectively, right? It's just I just really like that film. So the Avengers movie is a great reintroduction to the Hulk, and you could take it from there. So if we get a reintroduction to Lex, to Superman, awesome. Maybe he still got a shot to do it. And like, this is what I freaking annoys me about all these people. Like, oh, Paramount bought it now. Like, good job, right wing people. Like, you're gonna get a bunch of racist bullcrap or whatever. And it's like, dude, you guys are freaking retarded, because even if he is super, like, we got to put all my political crap in it, he can't do it. He owns so much now that he has to produce so many films and get them off the ground, hire so many people, that he can't be involved in every project. So I doubt he's going to be involved in DC. Like, look at Star Trek, super woke. And then Halo, super woke. And then freaking Landman is a good, like, I want to say it's right wing, but it's just normal. It's just a story. You know, Tulsa King is just a freaking story. So, and then Sonic is kid friendly, and then, like, I don't think there's anything political about it. It's just like a wacky, fun film. You know, not a masterpiece, but it's wacky and fun. It's Sonic. So, yeah, I think it's stupid to just be like, oh yeah, now that this guy is ahead of it, we're screwed, and we're gonna get a whole other perspective from a political view. It's like, man, you guys are way too involved in politics. Who gives a freaking damn, dude? And again, if like, even if I have my own politics getting shoved down my throat, I don't want that, and it will be called out. It will. You know, like, it isn't like people act like, oh, as long as it's my political leaning, I'm going to be happy with it. That's not how real people work. That's not how normal people work. They're going to be like, yo, this had, like, I agree with everything they're saying, but it was freaking terrible. Like, I don't want to freaking get that preached at me, man. Like, dude, you might believe in, I don't know, the Bible, but if somebody throws the Bible at your face so that you can read it, you're going to be pretty freaking pissed. You know what I mean? Like, damn, it's just so stupid to think in that way. So, Paramount and freaking... And again, James Gunn is starting now the production of Man of Tomorrow. So that means he's still going to be involved in the movies of DCEU in 2027. And again, Derpy, I'm sorry, but it's a retarded take when you're saying he didn't direct it, so, like, you can't blame him. Yes, you can, because he's the one that hired these guys. He's the one that wants to push whatever, either it's an agenda, a garbage story, or just push it out without having a redraft of their first rough draft. Like, come on, man. Like, if Lanterns succeed, you still gotta praise James Gunn. If they fail, you gotta it's also James Gunn's fault, along with the freaking showrunners. That's how it freaking works. Like, if I'm the head of a company and my employees do something illegal, I will fire them, but that's on me because I should have, freaking sniffed that out before it happens. Sometimes it falls through the cracks. Sure, but it's still your fault. You're still held accountable. Like, that's it. That's that you still got to deal with the repercussions, man. So, James Gunn, he's formulating everything to get to the Justice League, right? So it doesn't matter that he is writing or not writing, because he is involved in all these DC projects, okay? He has to get everybody to the Justice League. That's what he wants to do. He wants to create his own Justice League, and then if that does well, solidifies him there. Now, is it possible that he's going to get fired? Maybe not. Could this possibly be a Kathleen Kennedy situation where every year everybody's wondering if they're going to get fired because he makes bad content, and then we're going to be like, oh yeah, definitely this year's coming, and then he just keeps his job year after year after year after year for 14 years until he finally decides to retire because his wife is done banging other dudes. Now she only wants him. Who knows? So again, it's okay to freaking criticize something based off its trailer. The trailer is supposed to give you the tone and get you wanting to go watch the damn thing. Okay? So yeah, it's okay for people to crap on it. And again, I'm going to reiterate. You could crap on the trailer, and then if it's a good show, hey, you could praise the show. That's fine. It doesn't mean the trailer becomes good now because of the show being good. No, it's still a garbage trailer. It still is. It'll forever be a garbage trailer. That's it. It's that simple. Like, it could be the best Green Lantern thing ever the first season, and it still doesn't change the fact that trailer is garbage. Okay? Like, I don't know how much more I can explain how simple that is. And that's just the fact. Like, this trailer, it was good if you're looking for two douchey cops running around the freaking town and trying to figure out this mystery with everybody hating this one major cop and then his partner being a huge douchebag to him. If that's what you want, that's what it portrayed, great. Now, you add the superhero element to it, which we know came from a comic, and they're supposed to be green, there's supposed to be a green glow, and you give us this trailer, now it becomes a much worse trailer. This ain't rocket science. It ain't rocket science, man. Like, again, I don't want to watch crappy movies. I don't want to watch crappy shows. I'll call it like I see it. Again, I'm not judging the show based off the trailer. I'm not saying it's going to be a good or a bad show. I'm saying okay. I am judging what I think might happen off this trailer, but I'm not judging the actual show. I can't say that it is trash or it is good. But I could say I believe it's going to be trash because the trailer was trash. I don't even know why I need to say that. It's such a simple thing. Like, some trailers show like it's going to be really, really good, and then you go watch the film, and the film sucks, but the trailer was still phenomenal. Like, for instance, I think the Spider-Noir trailer was a good trailer. If the show sucks, it doesn't take it away from being a good trailer. Not a perfect trailer. It's a great trailer. Okay, the Man of Steel trailer looks solid. It looks great. Because we didn't know that was the entire tone. We thought like it gave us very little, but it felt like Superman. It had its own score. You got excited. And then we got the movie. It doesn't take away from the trailer being good. It's just that movie freaking sucks. It sucks, man. You know, I just don't. I just don't think that fighting about whether Snyder versus good or James Gunn's versus or the Gunn versus good is productive. They both are terrible in a different way. And what we should fight for is for the right comics to be adapted and actually be adapted. We should fight for the fantastic, like, again, this is where I give credit to James Gunn. He made his own Superman suit. It was very different, very flashy, and very comic-y. I don't think it looks good. I think it's a terrible suit. I think it still looks like a motorcycle suit. But it was very comical. Okay? And now, this Hal Jordan suit looks awful. It just does. It doesn't look comic-y. It looks like really bad cosplay or just a crappy leather suit that like is just thrown together with a little Green Lantern symbol in the middle. It looks completely out of place, man. And on the podcast I was on, I meant to say Earth 1, not Earth 11. That's where they kind of base it off, and it's a terrible suit. Terrible suit. You know. But Zack Snyder right now, like for instance on X, he posted pictures at UFC. He's wishing happy birthday to Henry Cavill. He's not wishing happy birthday to the cast of Rebel Moon. He's not wishing happy birthday to those who are part of the Watchmen 300. No. He's specifically targeting those who played in the DCEU, in his DC version. So he's trying to stir the pot. He's trying to get the talk in there. Like, he was at UFC. Who has a deal with UFC? Paramount. So he's trying to become more buddy-buddy with everybody who has a deal, so that even if here's what I think would happen. I think we would probably get 2 separate universes at the same time. It's something that James Gunn was fighting against. You know, that's why he delayed the Batman project, the Batman 2. That's why he canceled the Superman Lois show. And because he thinks us fans are retarded, because he didn't want people confused with David Cornsweet Superman with Teen Wolf Superman. That's crazy. And so, if that happens, obviously James Gunn is getting half of what he wants and half what he doesn't. And then they could do something different from what the MCU did, is I have 2 universes and probably have them collide, do an incursion type deal. I don't think it's a good idea. But if anything, I think that's what would happen. You know, where like they are satisfying 2 different fandoms and trying to bring them together. Maybe. Do I think the actors care? And here's to the point of one of the biggest reasons why people still talk about the Snyderverse. It's because of Henry Cavill. It's not because of his look. It's not because he's muscular and a good actor. It's because during fan interviews, he embodies Superman. He embodies somebody who understands his role in life and that he's an actor, and he is respectful and a gentleman, and it's everything you want actors to be like. And then he finally got famous enough where he could take a stance against the project that he's working on, where it's like, hey, The Witcher is nothing like the source material. It's actually disrespectful, so I'm walking away. And he did it in the classiest way possible, but he had to walk away from the project. You know, the reason why we haven't gotten Warhammer is because they've been arguing back and forth about like having a bunch of freaking DEI hires and gender politics and all that stuff. And he's like, I'm not doing it. Dude, like 2 years ago, it was all over the freaking news, or all over the, I guess, gossip sphere, that's why the Warhammer project was freaking delayed. That's why, oh shoot. Ugh. And also, he got cucked. They made him put on the suit. They finally gave him the little Superman swirl, make him look a little more like the hopeful Superman. Put him in one of the worst DC movies ever, Black Adam. And then, boom, we got absolute freaking trash. That's a crazy, like, era between the Gunverse and the Snyderverse. Like technically, season 1 of Peacemaker is James Gunn doing the Snyderverse. You know, like we have up until freaking, well, not up until, but the last thing Zack Snyder did for the Snyderverse was, Justice League, and then we got Aquaman 2, The Flash, Black Adam, and the freaking Peacemaker show, The Suicide Squad, and I think Wonder Woman 2. That was like with no direction, but still part of the Snyderverse. That's kind of insane. And then it just went to James Gunn. And then Black Adam came out, and they just completely like freaking trashed that. And they brought Superman back, and then they did this whole press thing and allowed him to even talk on social media that he's back. He's donning the suit again. I even have a short on my channel of him like being excited and being like, I still have a story to tell. I always held out hope that I could don the suit once again. Now, who knows? Maybe when he gets older, he'll be able to do Kingdom Come. I don't know. But yeah, it freaking sucks, man. He's been getting screwed left, right, and center, but he still maintains being a classy dude, a gentleman, and taking care of the fans and just being real with them. Like, yeah, you know, if I guarantee you, if someone's like, dude, that Man of Steel film sucks, Batman v Superman sucks, Justice League sucks, like, he'd probably say something along the lines like, I want to bring my favorite iteration of Superman to life, which would be this comic or something like that. That's what he'd probably say. And then Black Adam, at the end of Black Adam, we saw his version, like a similar version, using the Zack Snyder suit, brightening up the yellow, brightening up a little bit of the red, getting a little swirl there, and him having a nice like little smile, like smirk type deal. And then you're like, shoot, he's back. This is gonna be the new DCU Superman. We're gonna get a progression of this. So we thought he was gonna be the James Gunn Superman, and then James Gunn unceremoniously just gets rid of him. Doesn't do like a whole, you know, press tour thing, or maybe allow like, look guys, we're gonna allow Henry Cavill to do one more Superman movie, and we're gonna hire this director, this screenwriter, but this is kind of it because we're going in a different direction. I want somebody younger. I want somebody like this. We're going for a more hopeful Superman. Truth, Justice, the American Way, which he did tweet that in the past and then just went completely against it. Now it's Truth, Justice, and whatever. And you don't even hear that in the movie. And then we got what we got. And now people are like, freaking this sucks so bad. Bring back the Snyderverse. And now he has a new fandom, which is the Gunverse. And now they're freaking fighting. And it's like, don't we just all want freaking good movies? So let's be actually critical about things that we like. Let's be critical of these freaking films. Like, if you're a Gunn fan, it doesn't matter. If he wrote something that isn't good or doesn't make sense, criticize it, dissect it. If you're a Snyder fan and he wrote something that doesn't make sense, isn't good, do the same thing. But in order for us to have a higher standard and keep elevating the movies, us fans, we got to point it out and call it out like it is. All right, like it's not freaking rocket science, and I think that's what's gonna get us all back like unified into one universe where we all are looking forward to the next DCU. Like the MCU, not at one point is it anybody like, oh man, like fire Kevin Feige and like bring on something else and just restart the universe. They're like, oh no, let's just get rid of Phase 4 and 5 as quickly as possible, move on, and hopefully Doomsday is great, and then we'll go watch the Spider-Man film, and then Secret Wars, and then hopefully we're back on track again. You know what I mean? Like James Gunn again also had the opportunity to do the same thing. Like, man, I hate how this started. What if we do a time travel thing? What if we do something that like rewrites all these movies that came before, and then therefore like it changes the actors, like it changes the look of people and how things were supposed to play out because this one being was like, hey, I can't allow Superman to kill Zod because he eventually is going to kill again. And so, if I bring him all the way back to when he's a teenager, me getting involved changes the entire dynamic of everything. So then Jonathan Kent doesn't say the stupid line of like, oh, maybe. Like when he asks him, should I let them die? Yeah, maybe. No, he actually says like, no, you shouldn't let them die, but I don't have all the answers. And then that's it. Freaking beautiful. And then, actually have a hopeful Superman and maybe not freaking use whatever lens or discoloring that Zack Snyder has. Replace Amy Adams as Lois Lane. Make what's Jason Momoa Lobo and bring somebody else as Aquaman, or not even do Aquaman in that freaking Justice League. You could have changed everything just by one movie with even a crappy, time travel explanation. You could have done it, but you freaking didn't. And then you could have, you could have changed some of the actors around. Definitely Wonder Woman. You got to change her because she was just freaking awful, dude. Like people say, like don't bring Gina Carano in because she doesn't have the same acting capability, or she doesn't have a good acting capability. She definitely got better acting than Gal Gadot, if not on par, and at least she's actually good to look at. Maybe put Haley Atwell. Maybe put that girl from Shazam too. Oh yeah, forgot Shazam was part of this universe, the Snyder universe, and I don't know how much involvement Zack Snyder had, but I know it's one that he greenlit, right? And the first one was funny. It's not super well written, but it's actually a really pretty decent movie. And so what we could have got was all like pretty much a rewrite of the cast, a rewrite of the universe, a brand new one movie where we could still watch all the other Zack Snyder stuff, all that other DCU stuff, but truly restart it with time travel and then him listening to the fans. But just like James Gunn, Zack Snyder doesn't really listen to the fans. He kind of listens and capitalizes on what the fans are wanting, but then he kind of does his own thing. He doesn't really, he's not critical of himself. He came out with an article not too long ago about people who criticize Batman v Superman and the whole Martha thing. And it's like, yeah, that you should. He tried to make excuses for like people that understand. It's like, dude, you're the one that filmed it. You're the one that directed it. You're the one that made this story go this way. So, dude, like, take some responsibility. And just like James Gunn doesn't take responsibility when something doesn't make sense. He doesn't go like, oh, yeah, damn, my bad. I actually didn't think about that. Like the Superman movie, it seems like it's a first draft almost everywhere. Like the quality of dialogue, when you hear the dialogue on Guardians of the Galaxy, and then you hear a little bit of the Suicide Squad movie, and then a huge contrast to, like, just think about Peacemaker 1, Season 1, and Peacemaker 2. The difference in dialogue, dude, is night and day. Like there's just it. I'm somebody that's like, when I watch something rated R, I usually don't care about the cussing and whatnot. And this was the first time where like I already watched a season of this, but this is just way over the top. Like it's like he lost he forgot what vocabulary is, and then just like lost half the like his memory of half the words that exist in the English language, and then just put a bunch of F-bombs in the freaking season 2 of Peacemaker. Like, what the hell? So you can see maybe he's rushing things. Again, very stupid. Hold up. Give me a second. I'll be right back. like I was saying, maybe he was rushing things, but it was obvious that the dialogue and quality is just much worse from his own work. You could tell that the dialogue is not there. Okay? Love juice. So, like, if you're gonna like brand it yourself, like take some time, man. Rewrite it, go through the script, go over it again. And really, like, it's freaking Superman. It's the biggest cinematic superhero ever. It doesn't matter. Like, you have the number one guy over Spider-Man. Yeah. Christopher Reeve, I would say, is above in terms of cinema, above Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. And I don't say that lightly. The best thing Marvel's ever done is between Spider-Man 2 and the Netflix series. Netflix series. The Netflix Daredevil series is what I meant. Those are the two best things they've done, by far, bar none. And the best thing we've gotten from the DC universe, I would say, is a mix of Christopher Reeve, Superman, Christian Bale's Batman Begins, Michael Keaton's at least Gotham, maybe is V for Vendetta DC? I'd say V for Vendetta is probably one of the best comic book films to exist. But whatever, right? The underlying thing is, like, how do we freaking bring the fandom together? The first thing both fans need to do on the Snyder side and the Gunn side is realize and be critical of the person they consider their Lord and Savior. Realize that, hey, you might love Man of Steel, heavily flawed. You might love James Gunn's Superman, heavily flawed. And then be honest, but be like, but this is also what we want. Don't just keep telling James Gunn or Zack Snyder, like, you're the best, you're the greatest, freaking sucking on their chodes, and then they keep churning out bullcrap films where we never know which universe is going to be the main one, if there's going to be multiple universes, if it's going to be progress. Like, start being critical of this stuff. You're going to raise these guys' standard much higher, and now they actually have to freaking perform. They can't just slap a name, write a quick script, and then just vomit onto our laps. Like, what are we freaking doing? It's not, again, it's not freaking rocket science. Like, the fans they're not to blame, but they have a voice to push towards progression. We have a responsibility to help these retards who have control realize that they are not freaking the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like, that they are flawed humans, and that they should listen to not only the fans, they should really go through the source material, go through with a fine-tooth comb, and then really present and go through it over and over and over again and write the whole thing. Make it cohesive. Not just one film. If you're going to do a universe, fine. Take a few years and write scripts. Take a few years off. Stop just churning something out so that you could make sure that everybody knows that you're the head of the freaking company or the freaking DCU. Like, it's not. Gosh, man, I'm getting frustrated. Like, our responsibility as fans is to gatekeep. That is our responsibility. We're supposed to gatekeep. We're supposed to kick out the retards who are not who don't want things to be elevated, don't want things to be adapted. We kick out the people who want to come in and change it to something that it's not. Like, don't put Barbie and call it Green Lantern. You know what I mean? Those are the people we have to gatekeep out. But we gatekeep is a good thing. Where fans should gatekeep and be like, yo, like, here's a great thing that happens that happened to John Berthal, the freaking actor for the Punisher. He walked in a comic book shop. He was getting Punisher comics, and the comic book either clerk or owner was like, "You're gonna be the new Punisher, right?" And then he's like, yeah. I'm like trying to get like source material, trying to kind of get a feel for the character. And he took all those comics off his hands, took a look at them, and was like, "Nope, you're gonna read this, and this one. Don't F it up." And then, like, great. That's gatekeeping. That's gatekeeping, dude. He helped the dude portray something much more than we even got in the comics. Like, it was super well done. I love John Bernthal as freaking Punisher. And, you know, we need more of that. Like, I keep pointing this out. Like, Robert Downey Jr., he posted, I think it was on Instagram. He was reading the Doom comic, and on the cover it was Doom. But anybody who's freaking read that comic knows that Doom is not in that freaking comic. He's just the cover. And he was like, and then Robert Downey Jr. was like, "Oh, freaking brushing up on my homework." I'm like, shut up, man. Like, that's not your homework. Because Doom is nowhere near that freaking comic, dude. It pissed me off. Luckily, I didn't have to comment because everybody else did for me. Like, if you went through the comment section, I think he even took down the post eventually because he was just getting freaking railed and just booty penetrated when he put that post out. And, you know, that's our jobs. That's the job we have. When something looks bad, we call it out. When something looks good, we call it out. When something doesn't make sense, we call it out. You know, when something does make sense, we also call it out. It's called praise and ridicule. Those are two very good things. They are good things so we could get something better. All right? Like, for instance, I love the Hobbit trilogy. It is flawed to hell, and I freaking love it. And guess what? Peter Jackson created the greatest trilogy in the world. Never gonna have something like that ever again, most likely. And Tolkien fans, and this is why I love Tolkien fans, because they call it as it is. Even people who became Peter Jackson fans didn't go like, "Yo, Peter Jackson, the Lord of the Rings is amazing, and the Hobbit is equally as amazing." They're like, "Lord of the Rings is amazing, and I love the Hobbit." But that's like, what happened? They ask questions. And that's why we know all about the crap that happened with Peter Jackson, is because he was hearing about it and he had to let the fans know, like, dude, there was studio involvement. There was all this bull crap. Like, it was right in the era of the Vampire Diaries, the CW. Like, Warner Brothers was pushing this. Why do you think we got Lana Lang in Smallville for such a freaking long time? Freaking love triangles. Because it worked in one show, the studio thought it's going to work in every show, and that was the freaking hype. Hey, let's just have all love triangles everywhere. We're going to do it in The Hobbit. We're going to do it in Vampire Diaries. We're going to do it in freaking Smallville. We're going to do it in Green Arrow. We're going to do it. Was insane. And it lasted for a freaking long time. Stupid, man. So we got all this freaking trash studio involvement, and then the fans need to freaking speak up. It's just that simple. We're like, it pisses me off when somebody's like, "Stop hating. You know, you haven't even watched the show yet." Nobody's talking about the quality of the show. We're talking about what we think is going to happen in the show based off the trailer, based off the info that we got, the interviews, James Gunn not shutting up. And that's why we are attacking the trailer. Like, let's say the trailer looked exactly like Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern. The glow, the CGI suit, all of it. We would still ridicule that, not because it finally has green. No, because it looked too much like Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern, and we don't want that. But you got a little bit of green on there. You take away the F-bombs and try not to be edgy. You take away the, like, freaking lady cop scene. You give it a little bit more mystery, a little less of the story, but still enticing because we get to see more fantastical Green Lantern stuff happening. You know, we get to see a glimpse of Hal Jordan's imagination using the ring. You know, like, that goes a long way. that it could be still the same show, but the trailer got much better, and now everybody wants to go watch Green Lantern, the Lanterns. Because it doesn't matter if you rebrand it as the Lanterns, people are still thinking Green Lanterns. The ring is still freaking green. The suit is supposed to have some green on it. We had Guy Gardner as Green Lantern. We have Hal Jordan introducing himself as Hal Jordan, Green Lantern. We have Jon Stewart saying in the trailer, you met any of the other Lanterns. Like, dude. The thing is, they talk about these fantastical elements, and then we didn't get to see any of these fantastical elements. And now, again, I think the show needs to have a clear progression. If it's going to be like this True Detective style, we have that as the first episode, and then we start sprinkling in little fantastical stuff, things of Paradox, maybe even of Parallax. We got like Sinestro kind of coming in. We got like little things coming in here and there. Other Green Lanterns being like, the training should have been over. You know, it's time for you to, Hal Jordan, for you to give up the ring. And maybe he's wary of some Green Lanterns. He doesn't know if some Green Lanterns are actually good. You know, and then we get to see a little bit of space-like stuff or things coming from space. And then we get to see a mix of the two. I think that would be really well for the fans. But if we just get to see them flying, no green glow, barely using the ring, and just like all detective bull crap, and then maybe one of the villains is an alien and that's it, but he still looks like a human, and we just see him speak in an alien language, that's not going to be a good freaking taste for the Green Lanterns. And we already saw, as crappy as it was, we already saw Guy Gardner being all like fantastical with his powers, sort of. You know, like the most memorable thing was him flipping off a tank, which is not a good look. But that's all we got. And we want to see Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart's freaking imagination. I don't know, man. I just think they're dropping the ball in marketing. And the only person that's doing really great marketing is Zack Snyder. Again, I told you guys what I think is the best of both worlds. And do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But if James Gunn wants to keep his job, he's got to make some bangers. I don't know how that's not self-explanatory. Like, you do a good job, you don't get fired. That's how a job works. You know, if you don't, like, if you think otherwise, then you've never had a job, I guess. Or you're not good at your job. Anyways, I think it ain't nothing crazy to assume that if he doesn't find a way to bring in the fans of the Snyderverse, DC Comics, and the Gunverse, because they're all different fans, then we're not gonna have a universe like the DCEU. And this is to all the DC fans. We're not gonna get what the Marvel fans got with the MCU. Yes, I'm a fan of both, but I'm more DC fan. And I'm sick of getting like 1 or 2 good movies, and then like the third in the trilogy sucks, and then it just freaking bombs, and then everything else sucks. Like, you know, we got a really good Batman Begins movie with Christian Bale, and then a second movie which is like halfway Joker movie, halfway Batman movie, and then we got the worst piece of crap, The Dark Knight Rises. Probably up till then, was other than Halle Berry's Catwoman, probably one. Other than that one, the worst DC movie to date, which I also think it's worse than Superman Returns. Yeah, so F me. So the fans, James Gunn needs to find a way to cross, like, build a bridge for the fans. I think, you know, and Fantasyland, I don't think he's ever going to bring in Henry Cavill to do Superman. It'd be really interesting if he announces that, like, without Zack Snyder, and being like, we're using, because Zack Snyder doesn't own the look of the Snyderverse. You know, he's just, his name is attached to it. But he could, if he wanted to, he could be like, I'm going to make 2 universes at the same time, and they're both going to be mine. One is based off the Snyderverse, one is based off my verse. And then bring in that whole cast, because apparently he's already friends with a bunch of them, like Jason Momoa. You know, I don't know if he's friends with Henry Cavill, but yeah, like, man, I think that's like he just needs to find a way to unify the fans and unify DC as a whole, because he's still going to be the head of it for the next 2 years. At the very least, he's going to be the head of it for the next 2 years. You know, like I have no doubt that James Gunn probably bought that Emmy award so that he could show the execs like, hey, people like my freaking universe, because it makes zero sense that it's above Invincible, and unless people watched it, then all those other shows that was listed above even Daredevil Born Again, which I hated, but I think that one's definitely better than Peacemaker season 2. And oh my gosh, so I don't know. He's got to figure out something, or else we're not gonna get anything good. But yeah, that's all I got for today. Finally got the lag out of the way. Maybe we'll do some reaction videos next time, but hell yeah. See you guys in the next one. Like and subscribe, douchebags. Don't forget that.